It's kind of crazy that two kids in college were able to scrape together some waiting table tips money, buy their first house. We bought it for $350,000. It is now worth over $1 million, almost $1.1 million. I want to talk to you about how to buy your first asset. And I would say that buying your first house, or there's a term called house hacking, right? That's what we did first. And really what that looks like is we went and we were young and we were still in college and we barely made any money. We were waiting tables, but we were executing a plan. We were saving money and we bought our first property and we actually lived in that property. And that's what you call house hacking, right? You buy a house, you actually go and live in it. It's your primary residence. You go get a local loan with a bank that says, hey, I'm actually going to have this as my primary residence. So we did that. And we bought this house in 2011. Mm-hmm. So actually here, let me pull it up. I want to show you this house. We bought this house. It is in Orange, California. And we bought this house right here at 1,700 square feet. We bought it for $350,000. And it did not look like this. It was actually a fixer. But we did all this work. This is our backyard and we put so much time and energy. Not a lot of money because it was literally blood, sweat, and tears. We had a budget of $500 a month in material cost, and we did all of the work, right? And like we put in these vanities, we tiled these showers. Let me show you. This was our master shower. We actually tiled this shower ourselves, and we didn't know it. We've never tiled a shower before. We literally would mess it up and then chip out that tile and then redo it. And we did it over and over. We just spent all this quality time together building out this house. And you can see now that this property, it is now worth over $1 million, almost $1.1 million, right? So it's kind of crazy that two kids in college were able to scrape together some waiting table tips money, buy their first house, and then fix it up a little bit at a time. So we owned this house for about 3 years, and then we sold it for $525.
Mm-hmm. 575, something like that. Yeah.
Something to that effect. Mm-hmm. When we closed everything, we got a check for $175,000, and we thought we were rich. No joke. We thought it was so much money. I remember saying to Laura, we are gobbiniers, because I didn't even know what word to use. I was like, that's just gobs of money. Oh my gosh. Like we were just, whoa. And so this is something that really anyone can do. And I want to encourage you that house hacking is something that is an investment. While you're living in it, it may technically be a liability and not an asset. But I want to define that because we were able to use this as our snowball. We were able to get going with this and really have this opportunity to get us rolling. Because here's the important part, is we did not live in this house, overdo it and make it, some dream home for us, right? We did not add the pool and do all of that kind of stuff. We bought a fixer-upper and we did the work ourselves. And we got to a place where as the market was appreciating, we decided, hey, we're going to sell this house and we're going to use that money not to what most people do, go and buy the next house that they're going to live in the better neighborhood and, really enjoy their dream home. No, we did not do that, right? That's what I would consider the middle class trap. This idea that you build equity in a house and then you use that to buy your next house, and you build equity and you use that to buy your dream house. No, this was not our personal investment, right? Like that's what you do for yourself on a personal. We use this opportunity to take care of our future self. This was the opportunity that we used to start that snowball. And here's kind of the distinction and how this kind of keys off with our story. Is we sold this property, took that $175,000, and the first thing that we did, well, we rented a house, right? We did not buy another house. We rented a house, and then the first thing we did is we paid somebody to teach us. We paid for coaching. We paid somebody to teach us how to buy discounted properties and how to flip. And so we used that money and really that time. We had now this opportunity where we sold that house and we both quit our jobs. And we had just had our second daughter, just had our second daughter. And it was like, you know what, babe, we got, 6 months, 12 months, right? Like we have this much time to make this work, start this new business, learn house flipping. We have this much money. We can get hard money. We can start doing loans. We can start buying properties. And we use this opportunity and this house hacking opportunity to get really our business started. And so because of that, we did not buy our own next house until this house that you see us in right now for what, like 8 years?
8 years. Yeah, we rented.
We were doing very well. And we still rented a house for the next 8 years. We rented multiple houses in California. And then we moved to Texas. We rented a house. And you know what, man, that was really the sacrifice. And I want to stress that part of it because this is the real practical part of this. You can do this activity and do house hacking and buy something and grow equity and then go and sell it and then just buy something again for yourself. That's not house hacking, right? What we're talking about here is starting the investment cycle. We use this in order to continue to snowball and invest. And so we use that capital and we bought a lot of houses. I mean, we bought a whole bunch of rental properties with that money. We started our business, right? That's something that really allowed us to have that freedom of time that we wanted running our own companies, but also we use that to fix and flip. And then we use that to buy a bunch of rental properties. And honestly, that was the real thing here. That's how we got to financial freedom the first time is we hit, more than $10,000 of monthly cash flow coming off the rental properties that we started while we were renting our own house. I want to stress how important that is. We were renting, right? And man, we had this kind of average looking house with what color were those walls?
Was taupe.
Oh my gosh.
Beige, or I don't know.
The walls were the same color as the ceilings, and you had these builder grade appliances, and the shower. We had the shittiest shower, man, for years, and it was so horrible. And that's what it was. I just want to tell you that we had all this money in the bank and we still continue to sacrifice because we did not want to stop the snowball. I want to stress how important it is. You got to get your first deal, even if it's tiny, just to get that snowball started. And then you just let it roll. So this is an option for people. I think it's super realistic. We bought this house with FHA financing, and you really just need 3.5% down. So it was less than 10 grand that we scrimped and put together. We might have even got some money from our parents. Did we or no?
I don't think so.
No?
No.
Okay. We were waiting tables. We got our tax return back. We're we're getting close, right? All right. And again, we made no money back then. But I want to tell you that if you're in that situation, you're just starting out, you haven't gotten all of your financial ducks in a row, this is something you can do. We did not have the most amazing credit. If you just Google, FHA, right, you only have to put 3.5% down. And then you look at the minimum credit score, just you and your partner, you and your spouse. What does it look like, right? Start talking to lenders now. Get your ducks in a row. It can only take a couple months. You can get all of your ducks in a row. And there's a bunch of different programs out there to help you with these kind of things.
So I think that we're having a little bit of issues with the internet. Sounds like you guys are having, that's kind of getting choppy. So I'm going to have Brett change. We in Georgetown, where we live,
in order to get the loan. And so that's one option, right? You could buy a single family house that you can live in. The second option is you can go and buy 2 to 4 units with the same type of FHA loan. You could go to, the next city over. There's usually some areas that may be a little bit more affordable, and you go buy a duplex. You can buy a triplex. You can buy a quad, 4 units, right? You can literally do that, and you can live in one of those. Let's just say you found a 4-unit apartment building. You can live in one of those apartments, and you can rent out the other 3. And the key thing is here, when you are counting the rents from those other 3 buildings, those other 3 doors, you can count that towards your income, right? So if you were not going to qualify for a big 4-unit building, now when you include the rents of those other 3 doors to your income, now you may be able to qualify for it. And so talk to your bank about that, because sometimes they'll let you count 100%, sometimes it's 50% or something to that effect. But it allows you to do a bigger deal. You can now buy a bigger piece of property and you just live in 1 out of the 4. Right now, again, technically you can do it with FHA. The rule states you just have to live in it for at least 1 year. So will we sacrifice, right? We would sacrifice. We moved to an area where there wasn't great schools. We were having our kids, and we knew that we couldn't stay in this part of town for more than 5 years, right? Because we couldn't put our kids in school there because they're bad schools. So, okay, I remember Laura showing our parents our house the first time we bought it.
Oh my gosh, I was so embarrassed. I did not want to show them our house because it was so bad. It was in a really bad part of town, and the house was a dump. It was bad. And we bought it because we wanted to fix it up. And that was all we could afford. And I literally remember thinking like, I don't want parents to come over. Like, I'm super embarrassed. And of course they came over and they were super happy for us. But I was just like, oh my gosh, this house is so bad.
Yep. But I want you to know that you just need to make the sacrifice, right? You can use this house hacking idea, go buy a single family, go buy multifamily, move into one of them, even if it's 45 minutes away, even if it's in an area where it's like, I don't know if I would want to live there. If you'd have a rental there, then just consider this your first rental, right? You're going to live in one of them for a year, and then you're able to sell and move on, or you can live in it and then you can move out, right? You just need to live there for 1 year, then move out of it, go rent something else. That's, essentially what we did. Bought our first property and then went and rented. And you just got to get that snowball started. And honestly, if I would have known, if someone would have told me this, I would have looked for a fourplex instead of buying a single family. I would tell everybody right now, go find a fourplex, even if it's a little bit far because they're too expensive in the immediate area you live. Go move somewhere else. It's just a year, right? You say you live there, do what you got to do, but buy it, because that's going to be your first investment. A 4-unit property, that's a huge deal. If you can get it and you're only putting 3.5% down, that's no big deal. So as we're looking at real estate properties, right, I want to give you some kind of ideas here. You buy your first house, you're looking at house hacking, you're looking at buying, your little apartment building, a 4-unit, something like that. As you are expanding into this game, and I do want to call it a game because there is rules to it. I want to teach you some of the principles and the rules to it. You're buying for cash flow. That's a really important thing to consider. What cash flow means is that you have rents that come in every single month, and then you have expenses, right? You have your mortgage and your taxes and your insurance, and you have your property manager, and then there's gonna be maintenance. There's gonna be vacancy. Whatever you think is gonna be happening, it's gonna be worse, right? There's gonna be more expenses than you think. So at the end of the month, you are going to have your top line income, your rents, minus all your expenses. Whatever is left, that's your cash flow. You want to buy something that has cash flow. The more cash flow, the better. Cash flow is passive income, right? Get that first one going where you get the $300 a month, right? That's cash flow. That is, 1/20th or 1/50th of your, financial freedom, right? Just get more of those. And the longer it goes, the faster it gets. Because the first property we bought for a rental, we were probably making less than $300 a month in cash flow. And honestly, when you look at it like that, and you're just like, I just have one, like, it's discouraging. And it's like, why am I doing this little deal? It's just so much work, and I'm getting all these calls, and then there's all these issues and stuff's breaking. That's just part of the game, right? You got to get past the awkward small stage. You just got to keep growing, but you cannot keep growing. You can't get past that if you don't start your snowball. So I want to encourage you, even when it seems stupid and it's like, it's just one little deal. Everybody starts with one little deal. We started with one little deal, and then we added more and then more. And all of a sudden it was like a year or two later, and we were making like $3,500 a month in cash flow. And then we looked at ourselves like, that's cool, right? Like, when we can't really live on $3,500, but at least we could have like a good emergency on that much money, right? And then what happened was just inflation, and the market increased, and all of these kind of things happened. And all of a sudden we bought a couple more, and then it was like, man, we're at like $10,000 a month now. And it was a snowball picking up. There was multiple things that were happening. We were gaining confidence. We were knowing the game. We were able to identify better properties in order to take down. We had more experience. We had more capital that was spitting off. And we were just putting this in the sacred account. So it's not like every single month, if you're saving, you're just saving that and investing. All of the money that is your cash flow, it goes into your sacred account. And so that's piling up, and that's compounding, and that's snowballing, right? The longer you go, the faster and faster and faster that bank account fills again. And it's like, all of a sudden now it's like, hey, it's just a few months again. And now you got 50 grand in there. And it's like, wow, it took me like 5 years to save 50 grand. And now I'm getting it every 6 months, right? It can build like that. And then you start picking up more and more properties. And then you start really learning the game and getting better at it. And you start selling the crappy little ones you don't really like that have a lot of drama, and just buying into bigger deals. And you start getting into smaller multi-unit deals, and then bigger multi-unit deals. And you start investing in other things. But I want to say that in order for you to get to those cool big investments, that you always start with the crappy little one. Everyone starts there, right? Start small. It is okay to start small. You just need to start. And in order to start, You have to go through the process and you have to work the system. And you got to get on the same page with your spouse and you got to save your money, pay off the bad debt, and then learn this niche.